Okay, we do have the even-odd identities on this video. So in the PDF, you should keep these 2 pages handy, especially for studying for tests, to make sure that you know all these. So sine of negative x equals negative sine of x. Cosecant of negative x equals negative cosecant of x. Tangent negative x equals negative tangent of x. Cotangent negative x equals negative cotangent of x. Those are all odd functions. Then the even functions, cosine of negative x equals cosine of x, and secant of negative x equals secant of x. Those are the 2 even ones. So those are the even-odd identities. So to these, we're going to add the 3 following Pythagorean identities. And of course, we'll add more identities later. There's a lot of identities you need to know. So the first one is really super important. It's cosine squared x plus sine squared x equals 1. This is just because on the unit circle, the x and y coordinate, or the s and c coordinate, the c and s coordinate are cosine x and sine x on the unit circle in the CS plane. So that's the equation for the unit circle. It's just c squared plus s squared equals 1. And since on the unit circle, c is cosine x and s is sine x, it just follows, okay? So it comes from the Pythagorean theorem in the unit triangle. Okay, so this one, 1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared. Okay, so all that happened here is I just divided this first one, by cosine squared x all the way across. So this is 1 over cosine squared x. This is sine squared over cosine squared x. And cosine squared x over cosine squared x is 1. So that's what that is. Okay, but that's a good one to remember. And then there's one for cotangent. I wrote that out here so you can see where it came from. Then the one for cotangent. Now, why they write the cotangent first here and the tangent first here, I don't know. I think there's a reason, but I can't remember what it is. And that's just dividing the first one by sine squared x instead of cosine squared x. So 1 over sine squared x is cosecant x. Right, so remember the cotangent and the cosecant go together in this formula. Tangent and secant go together, and the cosine and sine. So these are all called Pythagorean identities because these 2 bottom ones are derived from the top one very easily. So Pythagorean identities. So I started the most important one, which is cosine squared x plus sine squared x. Okay, so here's your unit circle, and I think I'm just explaining why it's true. Right? On the unit circle, that point on the circle is actually cosine x sine x. And so I just blew it up there. It's a right triangle. And so by Pythagorean theorem, sine x squared plus cosine squared x, or sine squared x plus cosine squared x equals 1 squared, which is 1. 1 squared is 1, right? So that's that.